Hi, everyone. Good to see you all. Please do feel free to turn your videos on if you want. This is just an informal time together, so it's great to see everyone, but also fine to keep your videos off if you want. My name is Lydia Webster. I'm the assistant curator here at the Center for the Arts and Religion at the GTU here in Berkeley, and I am so delighted to welcome you all to our very last art break of the semester with artist Benjamin Heller. Before we get started and I pass over to Benjamin, I just want to quickly let you know a little bit about what CARE does. There's two of us on staff here, myself and Dr. Elizabeth Pena. And we offer courses and workshops in the arts and religion. We offer art exhibitions online for the time being. Events such as this, also online for now. And we also offer grants to students and faculty at the GTU for people working on arts related projects. So I'll put the links to get a little bit more information about CARE in the chat box as well if you want to learn more. So thank you very much again to everyone for joining us and to Benjamin for taking the time to be with us this lunchtime. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Benjamin. Take it away.
Hey, thank you for everybody coming, and thank you, CARE, for having me. I really I have a lot of love for the GTU and you guys, and I've kind of gone on a wonderful journey with everything. And let's see, I was going to talk about, I'm going to kind of talk about a bunch of my work, but I've kind of been thinking, partly from your social media invite, I was like, I've been thinking about drawing, and not necessarily drawing in the most traditional sense. I mostly draw into materials. At this point, most recently, I work a lot with wood and stone. That has its origins. I work between photography, sculpture, and performance. And so a big part of my practice is trying to integrate all of those things. And I make, and so I also work with embodied practice. I was almost going to have us do a little movement. Does anybody want to do that? No? I see one no. Okay, fine. We're going to go into it, and I'm going to show you guys some work. But I work a lot with the body, which is like, an aspect of it's like the house of our spirit. And I work a lot with dance. Not necessarily as a dancer, but as a way to reconnect with my body and my spirit. And I come up with ideas that come from gestures, that come from part of what I try to do is take like kind of an interior state and make it physical so other people can join. One of my favorite definitions of art, or what I aim sometimes with art, is to be gathering and life-giving. And so I kind of see it as a container for an experience. It can be a kind of sacred space. And so I am gonna just get into sharing my screen. Okay. Give me a quick second. I'm gonna go back to the beginning. Okay. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so let's see. I need to play. All right, this is the first time I've done a PowerPoint on a Zoom. Okay, so as I said, I've kind of been thinking about drawing. This is the image that was from this, and so this is a piece called Spines Alluvial that I'll talk about in a little bit. But my carving process kind of has, layers and layers. And this is my joke, but it's a quote from Louis Bourgeois. Every day you have to abandon your past or accept it. And then if you cannot accept it, you become a sculptor. and I love Louise Bourgeois. And she also talks a lot about art as a way of maintaining sanity. So I often work in art as a meditative process, and and it also, you know, connects me with others. And when I was thinking about drawing, I was thinking about there's the direct aspect of drawing, and my work has a bunch of drawing in it. But one of the ways I think about is like how we interconnect and how a piece can draw us closer. How like something soft can bring us invoke a response without having to speak. Drawing to see and be with, drawing is a way of looking. I draw out material to make a space inside. I generally make things that either you can hold or hold the body. So drawing water into a vessel, drawing back into our bodies, drawing out material to reveal a form, and then drawing back into our own true nature. I'm doing a bunch of reading, but this is a piece that I like from John Berger that's really meaningful to me, and that I'm just going to read quick. For the artist, drawing is discovery. And that is not just a slick phrase. It is quite literally true. It is the actual act of drawing that forces the artist to look at the object in front of him, to dissect it in his mind's eye and put it back together again. Or if he's drawing from memory, that forces him to dredge his own mind to discover the content of his own store of past observations. It is a platitude in the teaching of drawing that the heart of the matter lies in the specific process of looking. A line, an area of tone is not really important because it records what you have seen, but because of what it will lead you on to see. Following up its logic in order to check its accuracy. Oh, whoa. I missed a part of it in my thing. Anyway, the last line, which is kind of the most important of all of this, is like that each mark is a stepping stone. That the drawing's not so important by where it came from, but what we become in the process of it. And that it's a beautiful image at the end. It says that each mark is a stepping stone that we cross the river and then leave behind. But technical difficulties. So this is a most recent piece that I made, and it's called Balance, the Weight of Light. And it's I first actually was inspired. It's kind of something that I started thinking about and working on in my mind about a year ago. And it first was kind of inspired and explored along with a movement artist that I know who was in Berkeley. And we went to go do a social distanced hang out on actually at the Albany Bulb, and found this big, huge board that washed up. And we spent about half hour balancing each other, just like with small movements of our body. And it was kind of a socially distanced thing. And some of what I was thinking also is I consider these to be kind of like choreographic or performative objects and environments. It's also in nature. I love making things that can bring people into kind of a sacred space of nature and then offer them, you know, a tactile experience. And this is from like a body of work that I've been working with. It works like a seesaw. And the images in it kind of it works normal like a seesaw, but then it also kind of, the carving kind of has a choreography towards reaching across the wall and into almost potentially an embrace. It can be, I'm interested in like engaging active response or authentic response, meaning that I want, rather than prescribing movement in the sense of choreographic, I don't necessarily mean, sometimes in dance, people will talk about putting movement on someone, on a dancer. And I don't ever want to do that. But I'm interested in kind of like the discoverable in that. Part of this is some of like the interaction, and it can be kind of found in a really simple way, in a really gentle way. There's actually also a picture in here that I didn't put in of somebody standing. It's funny, I don't think I got it in here, but something I'm curious about sometimes with art, and part of the reason that I'm interested in engaging the tactility of it is I think we spend so much, we look at so many things and we spend so much time like consuming imagery that sometimes I'm really interested in bringing in the other senses. And so with the tactile nature of it, it's like I'm interested in kind of keeping into a place where we're kind of in the, before the verbal, you know, before the thinking, and a place that we can kind of linger in kind of a softening, softer place. So it takes cooperation. And you can do it yourself, but it's more fun to play with others. And so because it's moving, it has a choreography, you know, it has a pathway for the hands, the body that you can follow, but it's and it's kind of meant for two. But I practice a bit with one, but it's more fun to play with others. That's the idea. This is some of the process, and I put together a whole bunch of process images for this today. Because I sometimes like Zoom's kind of a funny format. So it's like if I had my way, you'd all be here and you could touch the art, and you'd be here and you could touch the art, but I'm far away actually, so that'd be hard. And I think I'm gonna make a piece of, this is a piece of sound art. So that's like some of the process. I work with sanding and abrasion. And it's like parts of it are like, someone once said that like I never knew, they'd seen my work a bunch and then they'd never see me working, and they saw me working and they said, I never knew it could take so much loud, you know, such noise to make such silence. And so sometimes there's like different kinds of, and then this for the California people is like yesterday, somebody sent me a picture of this piece like through the seasons. And one of the things that I love about land art is that it, it changes. And I mean, this piece is built to last and stay and survive lots of things. So a change of seasons. And then these are some works that are like, I don't know, kind of relatively recent. And then I'm going to kind of go back into some performance stuff. But this is a piece called Mountain. It's carved marble. The space inside, the space, the detail is like hand, and then the body can fit, my body can fit inside of it. And then the tactile nature is really kind of important to me. I think that sometimes that intimate, I think of like kind of the intimate space of being the transformative space. And so I try to create kind of an experience as much as an image, so that, so that we can kind of, that it kind of hits all of these levels and then makes meaning in that way. And this is a piece that I did last year. I made smaller work last year. Last year was kind of a smaller year. I made little things, I made little things. I didn't put a picture of this in, but it's one of my favorite little things that I made last year because I was thinking about listening. And so the scale of the kind of objects that I make varies quite a bit. Like this is wearable. I don't know if you guys can really see. It's made out of lapis lazuli, and it's my ear. So sometimes I create things like, sometimes I think I make what I need, and I use images, as devotional objects, as reminders, as things to touch, things to hold. On sensory integration issues, I love touching sand. And so this piece, these two stones are from the Utah, from the Wave area in Utah, Arizona border. And I actually got them in Michigan. I've probably driven like 12,000 miles with these in the last couple of years. And then I created, this is kind of a process, but it's for a longer version. I'm actually going to make a piece that has sound and like poetic text. these are kind of a different process than often I work with power tools. Like our stone, I usually avoid chisels because they're the thing I hurt myself with, but I work with kind of a sanding and abrasion. And this piece was like a little different because I carved the stones with each other. And there's a poetic in that. I don't know if I can really speak about sometimes. I sometimes speak about art and the things that they contain, an experience. And there's kind of a journey of making something like this that's like a meditative process because it happens over time. And working with stone is really to work with really unimaginable deep time. Working with wood, one of the things I like about it is that it breathes and that it has like to me, a kind of conceivable time signature. Like trees grow within our lifespan, some of them much older. But stone is like unimaginably old. This is a piece that I made in Berkeley last year. I was asked to make a piece for that was kind of online and for the theme of public. And it's called Light Offering. And it was kind of earlier in the pandemic. And sometimes for art for me is also a kind of prayer. It can be like a prayerful process where I have an image, like ideas are easy and then making them takes more time. And so sometimes there's like kind of I think it was like a little bit of wanting some lightness. And but this was a place that I went a lot when after the kind of lockdown happened. And I was really grateful to be able to get outside in Berkeley, in such beauty. And then there's kind of a cutting away in the process, but then when it gets into the final stages of the process, it's almost like washing. It's almost like washing and smoothing, and it gets progressively softer and softer in the process from like the very hard, dry, hard cutting. And then it's like with a little touch. So I'm going to share this quote. I love it a lot. And Adrian Rich. One of the great functions of art is to help us imagine what it is like to be not ourselves, what it is like to be someone or something else, what it is like to live in another skin, what it is like to live in another body, and in that sense, surpass ourselves, to go out beyond ourselves. This is like, I'm kind of doing a big rewind now, because I don't know, the last time I did this, people were like, oh, I wish you'd show, but this is how I fell in love with sanding wood. There's a piece actually before this piece, like one thing kind of leads to the other. Before I was doing these physical objects that kind of were meant to engage people or to engage touch. I first started kind of making work for myself. I'm a photographer, did photography for a long time. The reason I started making sculpture, I think I was kind of yearning for performance again, but I have a background in a bunch of meditative dance practices, but one of them is called Buto, and it's from the post-war Japan, and it's Shinkoku Buto. And so part of that, I guess, that I describe is to allow an image to take over the body. It's really to let something happen from the inside out. So this evolved kind of from costume, and then that like of a wearable, actually kind of a literalization of that, of making a wearable, you know, body that I could immerse myself into, or other performers could. And this is kind of this bird. And it contains, there's a cage that's in the chest, and that can contain a live bird. These are birds. There's a lot of birds and feathers going on. But this was performed within this enclosure. And so it's a very intimate space. So really it could only contain like 2 or 3 people, and the performance was shown in a gallery. And there's a kind of passage in between these kind of wing structures, which are like very tall. It's about 11 feet tall. And so it kind of limited, it was in a very sharp corner, and it limited to be very intimate, like between a couple of people. And it's a very simple performance, really, of breathing. The piece in some ways is about breath and about this kind of armor shadow bird that also contains an infinitely more capable but very fragile creature. There was a live finch that I had in the piece. And then in something that happened, you know, like with the cage, there was like, I was trying to figure out how to do it for a long time. There's a piece of wood that held right in the kind of along the collarbone, which holds all the reed together. And when I was making it, I fell in love with sanding wood. And so the bird kind of gave birth to this. And then another piece of work that I did with a dance company. And I've done a bunch of sculpture that works with dance companies before, doing this stuff that you kind of find yourself in a way of like, just gonna like pause that. I saw a question, I think Elizabeth asked. You guys can ask me questions in the chat or something like that. Or I think sometimes I'll work directly from the material. I'm gonna go on to the next work because it'll make more sense. Sometimes like I'll I work a number of ways. Like sometimes like my mind will I'll get images and sometimes they come in a minute, they come in a flash. And it's always a process kind of evolving them. I try to work with the nature of the material. It's part of the reason I love natural materials. These pieces, and sometimes I find something and I get an idea. I had a professor who said sometimes the material dictates the art, and gave me this long roll of photo paper. And I started doing serial, images. He was like, sometimes the material dictates the art, and look at Dwayne Michaels. And so I started making some serialized images with it. But whenever I find a material, and I love searching for material, and I use it as a way to connect with place. I love working with materials that are local, from wherever I am and wherever I'm making the art. I sometimes drag materials like all over the place, but these are made out of actually a couple different woods. I started making these a while ago, and they are self-balancing. They're self-balancing, and they're carved wood, and the color on a couple of these is oil pigment, but then on some it's just the color of the wood. And so sometimes things like that, where the color, I'll get something from the color, I'll get something from the grain, and don't lose their identity. And these move kind of like they weeble a little bit. I'm always interested how work changes, like how an object changes when we get to like how an object is looking at it versus how an object is like actually touching it. Because sometimes in terms of where ideas come from, that for me can come from that too, where and I'm going to get back into the work body of the larger works. And this is kind of like where I've been, I don't know if it's catchy, but iknos entos are two words that are ancient. They come from Greek, ancient Greek, and they mean and the iknos is like is a trace or a footstep, and ichnofossils are, like say there's like a worm that goes through the mud, or there's like a footstep or a footprint. There's as the trace of the movement, but not the thing itself. The space that the touch left, but not the thing itself. And then entos, which is like a really favorite word of mine, which I actually discovered from Tolstoy, and is like it's from the Gospels, and it means like within. And I guess I'm just these are some of my definitions. And then this is a piece called Spines Alluvial, and from the carving, this was the first piece that I made like this, and I had an opportunity to work in Vermont, and I never really worked with stone before. I'd worked with wood, and then I'd worked with very small pieces like the one that I showed you, the ear. And so, and with this piece, you know, sometimes in movement, I guess I spent some time here. And I really wanted to create something that would create a space in nature that kind of could, there's kind of awakening and rest. Sometimes love the dual nature of the space between those two things, like between awakening and rest. And many of those kind of contrasting states and how we draw between them, how we move between them. So in this piece, there's a back bend that goes across, and then there's kind of a sleeping figure that, a space for like kind of a sleeping. And it's very, this is the entrance to the piece where you climb up these marble blocks. This is a marble quarry that's about 100 years old. And so there's all these blocks. At first I felt kind of like, oh, I don't want to mess up the nature. But then I realized it's actually industrial, you know, that's grown, you know, it's near a quarry that's grown back. And so the surface of the rock is from all this age. And then when you open it up, it's bright and white again. And so sometimes I also think new skin to inhabit. Each other and then the body. So sometimes within this work, there's a lot, sometimes like in some ways I wanted to wind, but then trace.
Uh-oh, looks like we might have lost Benjamin. Do you think, let's see what happened here. He might have just dropped off.
That.
Oh, Benjamin, are you still with us?
But my
God.
I am still with you guys. Maybe it's time for you guys to ask. Can you question?
Sorry, we're having a hard time hearing you.
Okay. Going to take internet thing, and I am going to join on my phone. But I see you guys. You guys can't hear me. Can you see me? It's so fun. I can hear you guys. Can I join? Oh no.
Can I just make a comment? No?
Please, by all
Yeah.
means.
I'll just feel. I don't know if Benjamin, if you can hear me. Yes, I don't know if you can hear me. I'll just
Just a
share. I
second.
mean, okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to share that. I mean, this work is it's just astonishing. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And, I'm curious about some of the processes, like looking at the seesaw. That's why I asked about, like, did you like sketch that out, like an idea of it, or did you just like start working on it? I'm also kind of curious because of the sound that we heard when you were doing and your process images. Do you do you listen to anything, when you're doing that work, or
Oh, the music?
yeah,
Yeah.
do you listen to music or something else when you're doing it, or you're just like completely involved in the actual sort of mechanics of the work? Do you know what I mean?
I often like listen. You guys can hear me again, right?
Yeah.
I think my internet connection just went dead. I'm sorry about that. I listen to a lot of different, I listen to a lot of different music. Sometimes I listen to like music that's very like, but I'll put in headphones and then I'll put on earmuffs. And so it's actually really quiet. It's quiet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like, it's kind of a paradox, or it's kind of like there's a conflict of like, it's loud, it's quiet, and kind of going between those two things.
Well, there's just such a range of things. There's the pieces that move and that you hold, and there's other pieces that, like the marble, the fountain, and the mountain one. Just so beautiful. Yeah, I'm so moved by, seeing it all, seeing the range and hearing about the process is so, I wish, so are there pieces here that we can go look at?
I don't think can you guys hear me again?
Yeah, you're a little sketchy, but
Okay.
well, if there were pieces in the Bay Area, that would be fun to do, to do a pilgrimage to, get Kate to guide us in a pilgrimage to go see a piece of the Albany bulb, or
That's been something that I've really wanted to do. I created that light offering piece, which was actually attached to the rock. And then it disappeared. The offering
yeah,
was
sure.
accepted into the heavens. And so, but I'm doing a residency in Marin this summer. And so I think I might make another one of those, the balance pieces. So it's been kind of something I really wanted to do, is to create a piece like that you could do kind of a pilgrimage. Like I love the labyrinths in the Bay Area, and I love visiting all the Bay Area. Like I noted actually that the Lands End Labyrinth had been removed, which I read actually has happened many times. I kind of want to like go back and remake it. There's a lot of beautiful labyrinths, so that's something that I would love to do.
Just beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I'll stop talking. I know other people have comments and questions they might want to say.
And I could keep on showing your work about not being able.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead, Melissa.
Melissa?
I had my hand up, but I was waiting. Hi.
Okay.
I have been looking forward to your art talk, and I'm thrilled to see your work at long last. I have a couple questions because I don't know if you know also, I'm an artist. That's what I have a bachelor's. I did not get into grad school, and it was interesting because that was the beginning of my spiritual journey. The rejection, not getting my master's. So I'm very interested in other artists' journeys, and so I'd love to be on your mailing list or learn more and go to your art openings. Do you have a studio or is your apartment your workspace, and is it overtaken by all these enormous pieces? I'm very curious about the space where you're actually creating your work and living and creating. So that was kind of a three-pronged question: your journey, and then your space and your studio. I think Ben got froze again. Okay, I can't hear you, Ben. His phone is muted.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Technical difficulties, but now you guys should be able to hear me. And
Yes.
maybe you can't see me, but you can hear me well, and
no.
like the sound of the voice. Okay, like as far as my studio, I'm in my studio in Brooklyn right now.
Brooklyn.
And so this is a workspace. It's a work only space that I don't live here. And then I have a separate when I'm here. When I'm in Berkeley, I have a place that has a backyard. And so I end up kind of having indoor space, and then like one of the wonderful things about California is that you can work outside, and that's become increasingly, I've sometimes been trying to figure out, as you saw kind of with all the open sanding, it's really hard to do in the studio. A friend of mine jokes that I have complex problems that any parking lot will solve. So and I travel for projects too. I try to work wherever I am and find ways to work wherever I am. I think the sandstone piece, I partly was like, didn't feel like making noise. And those stones made it possible. Usually stones I have are too hard, but those stones were able just to be worked from each other.
And that was the two pieces that you said you got from Montana?
They're from the kind of southern Utah, northern
Okay,
Arizona.
yes, the red rock.
And they're
gorgeous.
Yeah, they're red rock, and they look like wood. I found them in, they're, I think, river stones. I found them actually in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan at a really amazing rock store.
How large are those pieces? Those
they are handhold size. They're like, I don't have them out right now, but they're like this size.
Oh.
This is a persimmon, but
Yes.
they're about this size, and they're like one of them. This is like the small size and the bigger size, and I don't have them out right now. I have like some other work out, but
No, your scale of your work is so diverse, from those enormous pieces of marble to the small little carvings. The photography, of course, doesn't give us reference to scale, but it doesn't really matter because they look like living, breathing organisms.
Oh, thank you. That's like one of the highest, I want them sometimes to feel like they've grown. And growth is kind of part of the process, and it's like this gradual washing away. In some ways, it was inspired by erosion, and the way that nature moves, and it's this long natural process, and it's this long natural process of kind of like just gradually. There's also an aspect in some ways of like taking away this skin, and there's an aspect also of healing where like I'll make all these scars, and then I want to take them all out. So there's kind of in some ways this shedding of skin, this healing process, like of the material, and but it comes from some of those things. And I can talk at the same time I'm doing this. I actually have a couple more things that while we're talking, because you guys are asking about some of this stuff, there's a whole other wave of things. That there's a whole lot of talk in here, or I went through here, and then there's this, some of these pieces.
This is a piece that's very strange, like scale-wise. This is a piece that's very, like, kind of strange scale-wise because it's very hard to tell how big it is. It's about like 5 by 8 feet. And it's all intercut quartzite sandstone that is like put together like a inverted dome. Which are kind of interesting. There's like turtleback tombs. But this is also a nesting ground for this kind of endangered turtle. So that's where it's where it kind of came from. And these are some smaller objects. The serpent somehow came into my work with the serpentine. This piece is called serpentine. And also in answer to the question that Elizabeth asked before, like whether the material tells me what to do. It's like the body tells me what to do, the material does. After making that spines alluvial piece, I was like, I can't lift 3-ton, 4-ton marble blocks very easily myself. So I started to ask myself, how can I make something that I can carry? And I found these 4x4 old oak boards that are about 15 feet long. And I can carry one of them by myself. And then I put this together. And there's kind of, there's a river form that it has really space for like two bodies in it. And so, but it's kind of funny because I started carving the bodies and then there's these 2 serpents that are going opposite directions. And it was coincident with the way that I was carving. They just kind of appeared. And I'd never really worked with that image before, though I'd sometimes thought about the Ouroboros, which is the ancient infinity symbol, and one that I really, really like. This is like a work I carved recently that I don't have pictures for yet. Which is actually, this is made out of the green serpentine that's it's actually a chalcedony that's in some beaches. This is from Muir Beach, the stone I picked up in Muir Beach. So, and if you guys have questions, I can just slideshow it through otherwise. I know we're almost out of time. Whenever I don't know what to do, I turn to the heart. Whenever I don't know what to make, this happens, I don't know, with some frequency. I'm surrounded by hearts right here. I go to the heart, and it's kind of what I go to. This is ophitic basalt, which the Ophite, the Ophites are like a kind of pre-Christian sect. So there's an interesting birth rebirth in the serpent imagery, which actually varies through so many different cultures. In Mayan culture, it's like the life, it's like the life tree. And then this is a piece. It's like a sternum, and then it's flat on one side. And it rocks like a vessel, like a boat. And then this is a piece called Cathedral Heart. And it looks a bit like the chordae tendineae that actually return the valves, but it's an interesting one because it's omnidirectional and it has a lot of different gestures from each side. Because it can look like 2 hearts, it can also look like 2 squids fighting. This is this is a piece, this is a stone that's really dear to me. I'm from Minnesota, and in northern Minnesota in the Iron Range, which really kind of built our country. And the Native Americans call this stone earth blood. And it's about 2 billion years old. It's hematite and jasper. The silver bands, it's called banded iron formation. And this silver is mineral hematite. And it originates geologically from the time that oxygen entered the atmosphere of the Earth, which is about 1.2 to 1.8 billion, 1.8 billion, from cyanobacteria. And also there's like a theory of an asteroid impact. There's 2 places in the world that this stone exists. And I found it on the shore of Lake Superior on a little pilgrimage. So sometimes the materials, like I love material exploration, because material is possibility. There's inspiration and there's spirit and there's the images from subconscious, but then like we also live in the material. We're like always in an environment, always in the earth. And I'm gonna end with this image, but it's called and I am wood within this wood, which is a line from Midsummer Night's Dream. Meaning I'm crazy, but anyway. So 2013. As Louis Bourgeois said. So. Do you guys have any more questions?
I have to give you an applause.
Oh, thank you.
Off mute. That was wonderful, Ben. Really exceptional.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming and spending the time.
Yes, it's so wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Maybe
thank
when
you,
you're,
Benjamin.
do you think when you're in Marin, would we be allowed to do a studio visit, or
Yeah, I
that
think
might
so.
not be allowed by the thing?
Oh no, I think it totally
Yeah.
is.
So
I mean, it's like it's in an art center that's in like in Mill Valley, and
yeah.
I think I'm gonna try to do something site specific. I'm gonna be there in June,
Mhm.
so I'm not sure if I'm gonna do. Like I was really inspired actually. The piece, this kind of seesaw, the balance piece. Like I was really inspired out there, and I really wanted to make one. And actually, the wood is much easier to find in the West Coast because the trees are bigger. And there's a place in Oakland that actually has these beautiful 4-inch thick cypress boards that are kind of perfect. They've been sitting outside for like 15 years, and so it's like it's in my I'm in the East Coast for a little bit, but it's in my cooker.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I know you'll keep us posted, and we'll keep in touch.
I definitely
but
will.
If that's possible, we will reconnect with these folks and with anybody else who's interested to have an outing and do something. It would be really
Be great.
Wouldn't that be
And to
great?
actually,
Just the
even
idea
if
of
I
it
just
makes me feel relaxed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's the best
Yeah.
compliment.
Yeah.
I love it when the work can do that, because that's one of the things with the touch. I remember I had somebody come for a studio visit, and they walked in and they were like, they touched this piece, like, and they were like, I came in and I was so angry, and now I'm so not angry.
Yeah.
So we all need like a little ease.
Yeah. Yeah.
in this
So that
world.
would be great. Oh gosh.
Yeah, I would love to give the experience. It's very inspiring. I mean, I think the most inspiring thing to me about the Bay Area is that there's just art out in the world, sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that's like it's like, and then that aspect of pilgrimage is very important too. So I hope that it will happen. So
Yeah. Good.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Yeah, it was such a pleasure. And
It was great. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. And the art, the thing that really finishes a work of art is to have eyes on it and to be touched and to touch others. So thank you for helping me finish this work today. So.
Wonderful. Thank you ever so much, Benjamin. It's been fabulous. And thank you so much, everyone,
Thank
for
you.
taking your lunch to join us here on Zoom. It's been great to spend an hour with you all. Hope to see you at the next one in the new year.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Wonderful.
Thanks for having it.
Bye-bye.